after David sets up a perfect storm of billions of people watching all of this footage, somehow we have to get this from all of your wonderful venues into Sky and then back out. Sky, I've got Sky Go, Sky.com, our normal platform, we've got YouTube, Twitter, we've got all of these routes through, but unless we find good enough content, then, well, our subscribers and everyone who wants to view this stuff aren't going to appreciate it very much. So, to give you a brief introduction to myself, I'm head of operations. All of Sky's output somehow falls under me, my team, to as efficiently get to the customers as we can. So the area that I'm going to discuss today is Soccer Saturday, which, apologies for the non-football members here, but I'm pretty sure most people will understand what it is anyway. Started in way back in '92. It's called Sports Saturday then, and rebranded in 1998 to be Soccer Saturday. And it is pretty much known. Obviously, I've been with Sky for 18 months, but I'll brag like I've been there forever. But it is known for the style that it does and the approach that it takes to how it does its reporting. It wants to keep it light, but it wants to be quick, and it wants to move with whatever story. It doesn't want to feel like it's too fixed. The format of the show, in case you don't know, 4 pundits sit in the studio along with Jeff presenting, and due to the restrictions with UEFA laws in showing sports during a certain time frame, you can't actually see any action. So the innovative way that they did way back then was to have them viewing the games in front of them, so you couldn't see at home, but you could just see their reactions. So there are always 4 games in front, 1 for each pundit. There's some technology going on behind to make it kind of look like they're there. It's probably stuff that you've watched but you've never really thought about, but the fans in the background, that's content we need to acquire. They have to get the content for them in the screen, and then we've got to shoot them and get that out to the audience at home. And the reporters then, as you will probably know, look something like that, and have the glamorous job of standing in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of conditions. And I'll just show you a quick video of some of the bits, if I can, of what happens.
Today, my boys, Hyde United, or Hyde Town, I beg your pardon. Oh, we're on. Is it that? Stop that! I know you're watching, I can hear you. Yes! Right. That's about. Ball's coming in the box now. What a save, Saproni. Saproni. What a save. Yeah. What a J. What a J. What a J. The ball goes to Jokovic. No. Step forward. It gets to him and he flicks it into the ball.
And he's hit it. Crisp as a nut. Half volley. And it's so much power. Past Megan, it's 2-2.
Crisp as a nut. The game's just been abandoned. Bianca Westwood.
I can barely hear you. It's like a hurricane here. The match has been abandoned. The conditions are awful. And the refs just called the game off at 2-3. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear anything. But yeah, that's it. Match abandoned. It's all over. I'm going home.
Chris Kamara is naked. At least facially.
You see, I've grown it overnight.
It's a false moustache, Kamara. I'm not sure the last waltz is part of Chris Kamara's repertoire, is it, Cammy?
I had the last waltz with you, 2 lonely people without you. He didn't do anything, he fluffed it. He got his legs on the wrong feet.
I tell you, that's a real issue for him as well if he's got his legs on the wrong feet.
It's pretty even, but, well, not pretty even, because Sunderland is slightly on top.
Pretty even, but Sunderland are on top.
I think Jeffy sent Ivanovic off. No, he hasn't, no, because the plays carried on. But Ivanovic was going absolutely crazy. Still on the pitch, Jeff. There hasn't been a sending off. And I just have a quick look over my shoulder. Jeff, see who's taking it? And it's Santon who's taken that penalty. It's not Santon, sorry, my apologies. Santon plays for Newcastle. one of the Sunderland players. And he scored, Jeff. Farini with his right foot, Jeff, into the top corner. It's 1-0 to Sunderland.
Mad, mental, and that's just Cammy.
Obviously, those are a few select moments of what happens, but they're trying to make it light. You can't see any content rather than just a ticker going along the whole time. Try and add something in there. But, as I said, getting all of that content to our viewers is a bit of a challenge. We have our roughly 1,000 UK-based OBs, so that's across everything that we do, and that's the main match coverage. It's costly, because we're having 2 paths everywhere we go, very secure, it's reliable, but it is restricted in the number of venues that we've got. So that'll be venues that we go more than 5 times a year. That product is available to us. Then we have a satellite product, which allows some redundancy. And then there's the new push, which I've got some of my technology guys here, will always groan whenever we head down this route, but 3G, 4G, it does have its use for very, very quick deployment. It is lower quality, and it is mobile signal dependent. So with news, they tend to fare a little bit better than us in sports news, because all these venues, there are 60, 70, 80,000 people all trying to use the phone at the same time. This is the kind of split we use for those main OBs. Largely it's fibre, so this is our core content, the match coverage of all of our games, pretty much largely connected because we know where we're going. We've got our rights for multiple years, we're going to these venues, we have that product in place. But then for sports news, it's a different story. We've got a small fibre base because we don't know where we're going to go, so they don't have quite such a regular outing. Satellite, easily deployed, we go exactly where the news story is. We are finding now, though, that new opportunities, and obviously the reason we're all sat here is because of one of these new opportunities, we need to expand the number of technology options we've got. We also want to make sure there's good competition, and this is probably off the back of domestic fibre. What this does is, because it's not being used all the time, and because the fibre companies tend to be putting in more than they really need, it does add a little bit of growth for us. So how many people here are part of a venue, or an actual stadium, or part of a venue? So how many of you can plot yourself in the blue on that marker? This, when we first started having conversations around connecting with a new partner, we started to have a look at how the country was getting connected. And it's clear that most of the places that sport go to are falling somewhere within there. It covers the northeast, the northwest, London, the Midlands, Leeds, through Wales. It's got the core places. So we needed, I've got, as you can imagine, behind Sky, a lot of very talented and very motivated editorial teams who want to get content across all of our platforms as quickly as possible. And our subscribers really want content as quickly as we can. As each rights negotiation happens, there is more and more content being created. I mean, Nick's here from the Premier League, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but this year the Premier League has freed up an enormous amount more content that we weren't having before. But now we get much better ideas earlier on in our rights discussions what we're going to be made available. You all want more money for the rights, which is understandable, and we want to make sure that we can get as much out of that. So there's a balance. When it came down to the Football League discussions, which was probably the first project since I joined Sky that we were take through from beginning to end, the grounds we know in the Championship, we know we're going pretty often. The Championship is quite a heavy part of Soccer Saturday, as well as the Prem. It's a good balance, it's the right amount of content, and a bit of from League One and League Two with some of the bigger teams. And our requirements for Soccer Saturday have been the same for years. It fills, the audience like it, so we know that we could put a product into those and not have to rely on satellite, because we would be pretty sure we could use as much content as we can. So Soccer Saturday right now, here's a small shot. We've got 26 lines coming into Sky on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. Most of that content is the known as the Envisioned, or kind of known as Kamara Cam, but that's not officially what we call it. This goes on much wider, but it's just a snapshot to show you. And then there are single camera coverages from a lot of the Championship games so that we can get that content in. Previously, it might take us for maybe till 11 o'clock that evening to be able to get the content in a traditional delivery method. But by putting in a cost-effective system, we could get the goals and the action from these venues live and be able to use them much earlier. They're still restricted, so on a Soccer Saturday, we're still restricted from showing those goals, but we can show them at the second that we're allowed to, rather than having to wait for the content to come in another method. The staff that help look after all of this stuff, there's an amazing amount. You talk about the YouTube stuff of getting Felix, getting the signals back from Felix all that high up. We can have just as much of a problem getting signals from Leeds, and it's one of the problems that we've been seeing over the years. No one's been coming up with a solution. So when we got a feeling that ADI were going to become good with a live venue, it was something we really wanted to push on, because we wanted a reliable product that meant we could go there and cut down our workload. The amount of work it takes to send 12 satellite trucks to a venue every weekend to be able to do the envisioned and get the match coverage back again, it's a huge amount which we should be able to deploy somewhere else. This is what the system allowed us to do. It allowed us to know that there was a box there. We wouldn't have to worry about parking, the weather, whether or not the satellite truck could see outside, whether or not it's going to break down. For regular work, we're okay with those risks around the more news elements because there's an inherent risk. But if we're expecting goals every weekend and envisioned every weekend, we needed something was there. So there are cost savings, or in the Skyway, we just redeploy that money elsewhere and it gets spent in another way. It never actually comes back. No matter what you offer, they just want more and more and more. So this is an opportunity really for us to take all of the content that we're expecting to get anyway and bring it in a much more efficient way, get it into Sky live and without too much workload, so that we can then redeploy the resource that was managing that to bring new content in, and we expand the content available to our subscribers even more. It's our subscribers really at the end of the day that keep us all in work and keep this whole industry moving on, so we want to make sure that they're given a new products as quickly as we can. We're now looking to expand into League One, League Two. We've been doing goal turnaround shows which have never been done before really, so on a non-Saturday 3 o'clock we can show the goals immediately, and we're looking at any sport that we can do that, where our rights allow us to and where the rights owners want us to, then we can exploit the material a lot earlier and get the immediacy of the results out there, instead of it just being news reported and then shown in highlight shows much later. We can follow stories as they go. We can see things develop that previously we just have to wait for the news to come in. Other venues, new sports. The cloud-based editing is another. Obviously, there's so much content. The viewer can only see what we can get in at any one time. And the Saturday, that window is quite rammed as it is. We're looking for a lot more content outside of that. But during that window, there's a much more stacking system. So we don't need to bring everything into Sky and see it all at the same time during that window. We can leave some of it in a cloud-based system, just take the bits we want as the new story develops. What we don't want to do is cut the quality so that the viewers start to see poor quality coverage in any way. We want to make sure it's high. And part of doing that could be pooling our resources with other like-minded companies in order to get the most out of it, but with keeping the cost back. We are finding that we're turning up to venues and we're shooting exactly the same thing because the content's available now. People are just sending everything they can, and we need to make sure that we're as efficient as possible with those things. That's how Soccer Saturday pretty much operates.